I'm Dr. Debanjan Chakravarti, and I head British Council's English Language Policy Research and Publications work in India, which is part of our English State Partnerships work in the country. We will be hosting the 11th Language and Development Conference in New Delhi from 18th to the 20th of November 2015. I'm in conversation today with Howell Coleman, who is the academic lead for the 11th Language and Development Conference. Howell is an honorary research fellow at the University of Leeds and a long-time resident of Indonesia. Howell has been associated with the Language and Development Conference series since its inception, and he has also edited 3 of Language and Development Conference publications, conference proceedings. He has also edited a very significant book for the British Council called Dreams and Realities, which looks at English language teaching in developing countries. Welcome, Howell.
Thank you.
And thank you for accepting our invite to be the academic lead for this conference. And you wear twin hats for this conference, as a trustee and as an academic lead for this conference. Howell, tell us about the Language and Development Conference series. How did it come about?
The conferences began more than 20 years ago. And they began by providing a forum for people who were involved in English language teaching in development projects. So at the start, the focus was very much on English language teaching. But they've developed significantly, evolved over the last 2 decades. And now they've moved away from English language teaching, and they explore all aspects of language in development contexts. Then now for each conference tends to have a very specific focus. For example, the 9th conference 4 years ago in Sri Lanka looked at language and social cohesion, or language in contexts where there is tension between communities. The 10th conference 2 years ago in South Africa looked at the issues around multiple national languages in certain countries, like South Africa, which has several different national languages. So the change over the last 2 decades has been quite remarkable.
Tell us about the 11th Language and Development Conference. What are the main theme and sub-themes of this conference?
I'm very excited about this conference. The overall title is Multilingualism and Development, and we have 3 sub-themes. The first one is looking at multilingualism in urban areas, in linguistically hyper-diverse contexts. I think very little work has been done on the complexity of languages in huge metropolitan areas in developing countries. The second sub-theme looks at multilingualism and the digital world, exploring a whole range of issues, such as whether the availability of mobile phones, for example, helps to empower communities which have not been empowered so far, whether digital developments facilitate minority languages or are posing a challenge for minority languages, and so on. And then the third sub-theme, which is turning out to be quite a large sub-theme, is to do with empowerment, multilingualism and empowerment of minorities.
How do these relate to India and the wider developing world?
They relate to India in many different ways. I mean, India has one of the largest number of languages in the world. There are different ways of counting languages. Some people say Papua New Guinea has the largest number of languages. Some people say Indonesia has the second largest. Some people say India has the largest number of languages. So in any context where there are many languages, all of these issues that I mentioned earlier need to be addressed. For example, in providing public services, how do you provide health services to a community that is speaking multiple languages? How can you facilitate participation in democracy when many languages are involved? How can you ensure that every minority group has equal access to the state when there are many languages involved? So I think all of these themes are very relevant for India, but very relevant in other parts of the world as well.
Who are the plenary speakers we've invited for the New Delhi conference?
We've invited 6 eminent people in the field, and they all responded very enthusiastically, immediately, and said that they wanted to participate in our conference. There are 3 eminent speakers from India. The first is Rukmini Banerjee from Pratham organization. The second is Osama Manzar from the Digital Empowerment Foundation. And the third is Professor Ajit Mohanty, Emeritus Professor of Psychology from JNU, who has experience in many different parts of the world. And then the 3 plenary speakers from other parts of the world. One actually comes from India originally, Professor Srikant Sarangi, who is now a professor at the University of Aalborg in Denmark. He specializes in provision of health services and the way in which languages are involved in the provision of health services. The second is Professor Birgit Brock-Utner from the University of Oslo, who has vast experience in Africa, multilingualism in Africa, particularly in the context of education. And the third is James Simpson from the University of Leeds in the UK, who is an up-and-coming name involved in a range of issues, all of which are related to this conference, particularly linguistic hyperdiversity. So we're very excited about having these 6 plenary speakers.
Tell us about the selection of papers and the process through which we are selecting the speakers.
Yes, right. Well, we issued a call for papers a few months ago, and it was distributed internationally through our own networks, the Language and Development Trustees networks, the British Council's networks. UNESCO has been very supportive. Other organisations have also distributed the call for papers. And we've had an extraordinary response. We've received 154 proposals from nearly 40 different countries across the world, every continent. I think this is the broadest spread we've ever had of any of the 11 conferences so far. And it's posed a challenge, a very pleasing challenge. We can probably accommodate only about 50. So we have to sift them very, very carefully and choose the best 1/3 of the 154 responses. So we've asked an independent academic committee to rate them, and I'm just going through, I'm collating their responses at the moment, and we will take into account the quality, the range of countries, and the sub-themes as well in the design of the programme. Apart from all of that, Debanjan, I wonder if you could tell me a bit about what's happening on your side, particularly are you planning to work with other organisations, or are you going to manage the whole thing by yourselves, the British Council?
Thank you, Howell, for that question. We are funding the conference, the running of the conference per se. We are in various stages of conversations with a number of partners, partners and organizations in India primarily, to come on board as supporters of the conference, as knowledge partners for the conference. Just this morning, we received a confirmation from the National Multilingual Resource Center of Jawaharlal Nehru University, or JNU, indicating that they would like to come on board as one of the partners. They will host a pre-conference research symposium on languages and poverty on the 17th of November. And we are also in conversation with a number of ministries in India, such as Ministry of Rural Development, who again have indicated their support for the conference. And I think through a range of these partner organizations, we will be able to not only expand the number of delegates who come and attend the conference across India, but beyond the conference, we want their involvement in the legacy program, so that it's not just a one-off event in India. There is a sustainable and sustained program around the agenda generated from within the conference. Thank you, Howell, for being in conversation with us.
Thank you.
The conference is in New Delhi at the Lalit Hotel from 18th to the 20th of November. We invite all viewers to register for the conference as delegates, and we will also webcast the conference live from the British Council India webpage. Hope to see you in New Delhi, either in person or online, in November. The conference starts on the 18th of November. Thank you very much.